COVID-style prevention measures reappearing in China, from face masks to virus testing, and workers in heavy protective gear. One Chinese city appealing to citizens to stockpile food. How is the U.S. responding? Look at Hong Kong and think of Taiwan. The Taiwanese president urging voters to fight for dignified peace ahead of the island's elections. Could a coat made in China show evidence of slave labor? A curious ID card found in a British Black Friday buy raising questions. What do you think? Let us know below and subscribe if you haven't already. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Are virus control measures re-emerging in China? The man in this photo is taking a nucleic acid test, commonly associated with COVID-19. His name is Professor Tian Li, director of the Financial Engineering Institute at a university in North China. Tian posted the video, which was taken on Friday, the first day of an international conference in the city of Guangzhou. The health worker doing this testing was equipped with a white hazmat suit, rubber gloves, a face mask, plus a plastic face shield, bringing back memories from the height of the pandemic. This video has been taken off Chinese social media. COVID-19 testing also appears to be making a comeback over in China's financial hub, specifically in one Shanghai airport. The news comes from He Xiaopeng, chairman of Chinese electric car manufacturer XPeng Motors. He wrote on Chinese social media Weibo Friday that when he returned to Shanghai from overseas, he was asked to take a nucleic acid test right after getting off the plane. Authorities told him it was a random check. But he noted that everyone on his flight was tested. Our reporters reached out to two airports in Shanghai. One of them hung up without any explanation. The other one denied having any kind of testing policy. The chairman's social media post was also quickly removed by the platform. Over in South China, one city is telling citizens to stock up on food. Yiwu is one of China's biggest manufacturing hubs. They even make the Christmas trees that appear in American stores. Worth noting, businessmen from outside China frequent the city. On Friday, an unexpected notice from the Municipal Food Security Office set off panic among some residents. It called on families to stockpile food, enough for at least 10 days. It also required cafeterias that serve as city agencies and enterprises to store enough food for 15 days. The notice gave no further details. Some citizens drew parallels between the directive and China's 3 years of COVID-19 lockdowns. Under them, many Chinese citizens were trapped inside their homes without access to groceries or medical care. The notice was also quickly deleted from social media. Beijing has said it plans to open more pediatric outpatient clinics. That's to vaccinate more elderly citizens and children against the flu and encourage people to wear masks and wash their hands. The reports flow in as Chinese hospitals remain crowded with pneumonia patients. Amid speculation about what's causing the mysterious outbreak, Beijing said it had everything under control over the weekend. But two experts are casting doubt.
This wave of pneumonia has broken out in northeast China as early as at least September. How does its peak curve go? How many cases are there? What is the severity rate? What is the mortality rate? And what is its cause? The Chinese Communist Party has not given any answer. How can it say that this outbreak remains under control?
The information coming out of China has zero credibility to any thinking individual.
5 senators have asked President Biden to restrict travel between the U.S. and China due to the outbreak. Experts have noted that a number of countries saw similar increases in respiratory diseases after easing COVID-19 measures, and that every winter, hospitals get crowded with seasonal influenza patients. A daring escape from Hong Kong. Agnes Chow is the latest pro-democracy activist to flee the city as Beijing clamps down on dissidents. Now in Canada, Chow says she'll steer clear of China for the rest of her life. Here's the story.
Agnes Chow, one of Hong Kong's most prominent pro-democracy activists, who was later jailed, said on Sunday she had left for Canada. Chow, who is fluent in Japanese, spoke to TV Tokyo in a video call from Toronto.
I have to go back to Hong Kong and appear before the authorities in December this year. But I have decided not to return. I can't go back to Hong Kong. I've decided that I will probably never go back.
The 27-year-old had worked alongside other young activists, including Joshua Wong, to help drive Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement. Their group, Demosisto, dissolved hours after China passed a sweeping national security law for the city in 2020. Chow said on her social media late on Sunday that she had left Hong Kong for studies in Canada, adding it was for her mental well-being. Her announcement was her first public comment since her release from prison in June 2021. They detailed how she had remained under supervision from authorities.
I had things like depression and PTSD. I really couldn't do anything during the 3 years I was in Hong Kong.
Chow was sentenced to 10 months behind bars in November of 2020 over an unauthorized assembly charge. She was also accused of breaking the national security law. Her passport was confiscated and she was required to regularly check in with police as part of a bail condition. She said she was accepted by a university in Toronto this year and that the police agreed to return her passport if she made a visit to the Chinese city of Shenzhen. I was forced to go to mainland China in exchange for the opportunity to study abroad, she wrote. Hong Kong police on Monday condemned Chow's irresponsible behaviors that blatantly challenged law and order and urged her not to be a fugitive for the rest of her life.
After Chow relocated to Canada, the Chinese regime issued a warning on Monday stating that any illegal and criminal acts would be punished by law. Is Taiwan's upcoming election a choice between war and peace? Ahead of the January elections, Taiwanese President Tsai appealed to voters over the weekend, urging them to look at Hong Kong and think of Taiwan. Here's what she said.
I want to ask you all here, does anyone want war? Nobody wants war. Do we want peace? Everyone wants peace. Look at Hong Kong and think of Taiwan. We don't want Hong Kong-style peace. We want dignified peace. Everyone, am I right?
At a campaign rally for presidential frontrunner William Lai, Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen urged voters to think of Beijing's suppression of democratic freedoms in the former British colony. Critics say Hong Kong's freedoms have been quietly eroded by Beijing's national security law since it was imposed on the city in 2020. Hong Kong has returned to Chinese rule in 1997 with the promise of autonomy under a one country, two systems framework. China made the same offer to Taiwan, but the island staunchly denies Chinese sovereignty. Tsai says peace must be backed up with a commitment to boost defenses. The Chinese regime claims Taiwan as its own territory despite never having ruled the island, and has voted to annex it by force if necessary.
As Taiwan's presidential election approaches, a top American diplomat is speaking up. Watch.
As Taiwan gets closer to its elections, I want to emphasize that the United States has deep confidence in Taiwan's electoral processes and democratic system. We believe it is for the Taiwan voters to decide their next leader, free from outside interference.
Sandra Odkirk leads the American Institute in Taiwan, which is the de facto U.S. embassy on the island. She said in a speech at National Taiwan University on Monday that Taiwan's election must be free from outside interference. Odkirk added that the U.S. is not taking sides, and U.S. policy towards the island will remain the same no matter who wins in January. A new standoff unfolding in one of the world's most disputed waterways. China is accusing a U.S. naval ship of illegal intrusion, while the U.S. Navy calls it a routine operation. The clash is happening in the South China Sea. Beijing claims virtually all of it as Chinese territory, despite an international tribunal ruling otherwise. Here's more.
Man our ship and bring her to life.
The USS Gabrielle Giffords, seen here in Texas in 2017, is what the U.S. Navy calls an Independence-class littoral combat ship. And on Monday, China's military claimed the Gabrielle Giffords illegally entered waters adjacent to a disputed South China Sea atoll that has recently seen several maritime confrontations. A Chinese spokesperson said, quote, the U.S. seriously undermined regional peace and stability, adding that the U.S. disrupted the South China Sea and violated China's sovereignty. China is in disputes with several of its neighbors over its extensive claims of territorial waters in the South China Sea. The U.S. Navy said the USS Gabrielle Giffords was conducting routine operations in international waters in the South China Sea, consistent with international law. The Chinese military spokesperson said the U.S. ship was monitored and followed. The U.S. Navy responded, quote, we will not be deterred from continuing to work alongside our allies and partners in support of our shared vision for a free and open Indo-Pacific. In recent months, China has had several run-ins with Philippine vessels in the South China Sea. Over the weekend, the Philippine Coast Guard shared this video it says shows hundreds of Chinese maritime militia vessels gathering near a reef within Manila's exclusive economic zone. A Chinese foreign ministry spokesperson on Monday called the Chinese vessels' behavior, quote, responsible and lawful, and castigated the Philippines for what it said were, quote, irresponsible remarks.
A Black Friday shopping spree exposing evidence of a scandal in China. A UK buyer discovered a card sewn in the lining of her new waterproof coat. On the card, there's a mugshot of a man in a prisoner's uniform, along with a name and code. The Guardian reported that the name of a Chinese prison was also printed on the card. The card was sealed in a plastic card holder, reading, produced by the Ministry of Justice Prisons Bureau. The Derbyshire resident said she got the code from a British fashion brand, Regatta. She told The Guardian that the discovery was unexpected, adding, quote, it just makes you feel really uneasy and uncomfortable. The woman said Regatta has approached her multiple times after the report came out. At first, they directed her to throw the card away. Later, they asked her to mail it to the company, promising benefits in exchange. She rejected the offer. The company denies offering the incentives. The discovery has reignited concerns about Chinese forced labor in global supply chains. Germany and Brazil coming together for their first government consultations in 8 years. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz met Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva on Monday, making him the first foreign leader to visit Lula in Brazil only weeks after his inauguration. Both nations are calling for a trade deal between the European Union and South America's major trading bloc, Mercosur. Brazil presided over the bloc. Germany considers Brazil a key partner in its bid to diversify its trade and cut reliance on China. Besides trade, Lula is trying to restore Brazil's standing on the global stage. That's after years of diplomatic isolation under his predecessor, Jair Bolsonaro. Scholz and Lula were expected to hold a joint press conference later on Monday. That's all for today's China in Focus on YouTube. We're now sharing a shortened version of our program here after being demonetized for more than 2 years. If you'd like to support us, subscribe to our partner platform Epic TV, where you can watch our full episodes. Or consider donating. Find us at donorbox.org/China-in-focus. Here's what to look out for in our second half. Is the Chinese Communist Party's reach extending beyond China's borders? From corporate giants to political leaders, Beijing seems to have quietly gotten its hands into nearly every sector, even in America. One U.S. investment firm is defying the odds, choosing to invest in companies not controlled by the CCP. What's behind the firm's decision? To discuss, we sit down with Art Alling, the founder and president of Timothy Plan. Thanks for watching China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. See you tomorrow.